Hey there, welcome to the Jeff and Heidi Show, where you're going to have the opportunity to listen to and learn from everyday entrepreneurs. Hello, welcome to the Jeff and Heidi Show. Glad to have you with us. I'm Jeff Heggie from Jeff Heggie Coaching. You can find me at jeffheggie.com, and I have my co-host, Heidi Anderson from Electronic Commerce International at ECISecurePay.com. And we're excited today to have Nick Bogacz with us of Caliente Pizza and Draft House. I'm excited to have a conversation with Nick. I've had the opportunity to be on his podcast, so I know about some of the things he's done. And, you know, I was looking through his bio, and I thought maybe I'll just read a little bit of it and let him do the introduction. But there's so much that's so intriguing of what Nick has done. And so I am going to read some of his bio, and I'll let him expand on it. But he's got a pretty exciting story. So Nick is the president and founder of Caliente Pizza and Draft House. He has over 20 years of experience in the industry. He opened his first location in the fall of 2012 and has grown quickly to his 5 current locations. He started in the industry as a delivery driver in '96 and fell in love with the team atmosphere and high energy that the pizza business provided. He worked his way through many levels of corporate chain pizza companies, always having his eye set on the opening of his own independent stores. He learned corporate structures and procedures and business financial systems, and that have helped him to build his company very fast. Nick loved the freedom and independent operation provides for company decision making. He is a motivated leader and team builder and has grown his company to over 200 employees through leading by example. Caliente and his team members have won numerous awards in the industry, and this is what's really cool. World Championships at the Pizza Expo in 2016, 2017, and 2018, and the Best America Pizza at the World Pizza Championships in Panama, Italy, in April of 2019. He also is part of the International Pizza Expo family of speakers. And then there's so much more here that I just love, but I'm going to let Nick go on, except I do want to add this part. His wife, Angie, has been his biggest supporter and proud to be a pizza wife for life. I love that line.
Yes, she didn't love it much when I was just delivering pizzas and I told her we were going to do pizza forever, but she loves it now.
Well, and what I don't want to, there is still more I don't want to skip over. I want to make sure we talk about it. But through his leadership, Nick's also written a book that we're going to talk about and all those. But Nick, go ahead and just add what I've missed and just expound on it.
Sure. So, you know, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're going to be celebrating our 8th anniversary here for our restaurants. There are about 150 seats in each one, 24 draft beers on tap, about 150 different bottles from all across the country and around the world to pick from, 6-packs to go. We've definitely been hit with the COVID here. In Pittsburgh, we're kind of mixed a little bit of 25% dining capacity at the moment, but we're doing a ton of takeout and delivery beer. Traveled a lot last year with the World Pizza Champions team. Was in London once for a competition, Italy twice, Vegas, Columbus, Ohio. Really got involved in a lot of different competitions in the pizza world. And as you mentioned, the book, The Pizza Equation, which led me to think about doing a little bit more with small business after the success of that book in my industry. So I've started to podcast The Business Equation, and I've had a great success with that as well. And I think, now more than ever during COVID, I think there's definitely a space for a lot of different small business leaders to be there and to speak up and kind of help and guide other small business owners through what we're experiencing today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. So you started out basically at the bottom of the ladder. What really was it about the industry, and what was it about your entrepreneurial spirit that wanted you to continue climbing that ladder and get to where you are now?
Well, I think a lot of it started in my childhood for sure. I am the second of 4 boys. And my older brother is about 7 years older than me. So when he went to college at 18, I was myself at 11. And then my brothers were about 4 years younger. So 7 and 5 years old. So, for the next 4 to 5 years, really, when I grew from 11 to 15. I was the older brother, so to speak, because my brother was states away at college. And my brothers were very good at sports, and I was a skinny beanpole, which equates to one thing: coach. So at a young age, I was the coach of their teams, hockey, baseball. I was the third base coach, while all the dads were the head coaches. They always let me keep the score and stuff like that. But we had a youth foundation right by our house, and I was the hockey coach, the soccer coach. Everybody always wanted to be, the kids wanted to be on my team, because we would do practices on different nights of the week, and we'd win the championships and celebrate with, ironically enough, pizza back then. And I think at that young age, I developed a lot of leadership skills I didn't even know I really was developing. And then the other side part was I cut lawns, had lemonade stands. My mom went to the flea market every single Sunday and sold chocolates that she would make. And I would go, and that's back when baseball cards were really big. And I would go back and I'd be selling baseball cards to different dealers, buy one from one dealer, sell it to another dealer. And before you know it, I rented out the youth foundation that I would go to for floor hockey. And I rented it out as a hall. And I had all the different guys that I would buy baseball cards off at the flea market. I put on a baseball card show. So they would set up, I sold them tables for $20 a pop. I had about 20 to 30 people set their tables up, and then everybody would come through to the baseball card show. So there's a lot of entrepreneurial things I did during my teenage years that I didn't even realize till, now looking back on it. And same with leadership skills. But that all equated to, I like to work. I always enjoy people. I think it doesn't matter if you're in the pizza business or whatever it is. We're really all in the people business, right? And I think a lot of that helped me on my journey to where I am today. And then, so that's my young years. That's kind of where the teenage years brought me to. And then I think at 17, I was washing cars, and I thought I was making all kind of money with tips. And a friend of mine at the lunch table said, man, you're not making anywhere near the amount of tips delivering pizzas. And I said, well, I got to check this delivery. And the there, I got hired, and I said, hey, I can work 3 to 11 every single day. And the guy said to me, he says, you know what, you're hired. He says, you can work 3 to 11. I said, yes, every day. And he said, how old are you? And I said, 17. And he said, you tell nobody. And because back then they didn't, you had to be 18 to deliver the pizzas. So first day I went in, everything went fine. That was a Wednesday. The first Friday, took my first delivery today, and I wrecked my car. And, I came back. I told the guy that I wrecked my car. He was so busy on the oven, really didn't care too much. I went home and asked my mom if I could use her car. I got her car, and then I delivered for the next 6 months. Then I wrecked her car. And my mom said, maybe you should start working inside. And I started working inside, and I had learned the delivery area so well that when I started working inside, I quickly worked my way up to management. And then that was 17, 18. Fast forward a few years. My wife and I have been married 20 years now. We have 2 kids, 20 and 18. We started very young with children, and I really needed to get that general manager job. I was like, you know what? I felt like I had made it as a shift manager around 18, didn't need college. I was like, I'm a shift manager. I don't need college. So, the reality is, man, it's a lot harder when you don't go to school. And I think at 21 with a baby on the way, I became a general manager. And I needed to work for a big franchise, I felt like. So I started with Papa John's. That's where I got a job. And I learned a lot of procedures and a lot of different things. And I think the thing that I learned the most working there was the sales fixes everything. And the way I learned that was kind of a tough lesson. I was 21. I was running a store with actually at 22, I had 2 kids at the time. And I was running the store. And the supervisor said, man, your walls are dirty, your oven's dirty, we're thinking about firing you. I heard this through the grapevine, and I was like, man, I'm working 80, 90 hours a week, and I just don't know how to get them off my back. And there was 4 stores in Pittsburgh with 3 other managers, and there was 10 stores in Ohio. It was a big franchise group of 14 stores. So every month we would hop in a car, the Pittsburgh guys drive to Ohio for the meeting. And the guy would get up and say, okay, everybody clap for Art in Ashtabula, Ohio. He's up 10%. Everybody clap for Joe in Youngstown. He's up 10%. And that's when I realized that sales fixes everything. So I went and I bought the Guerrilla Marketing book, and I read it front to cover. And I can't say anything in particular stuck out, but the concept of you need to get out of your comfort zone, you need to go get the sales and bring them to you. That's what rang true. And from that moment on, I've been a diehard marketer. And when we went back to the next meeting, Nick's up 10%. Everybody clap for Nick. Go back to the next meeting. Nick's up 20%. Everybody clapped for Nick. We go back the third time, and they say, Nick's up 45%. Nick, tell everybody what you're doing. And what I was doing was I went to the school board and I pitched school lunches to sell pizzas during the school lunches. I went ahead and pitched the school board for pizzas at the basketball games, pizzas at the football games, swimming pools. We were actually selling pizzas that nobody even called for. I set up 3 delivery drivers in the morning. I would give them each 30 pizzas to go out and sell to construction workers, and big box stores, and Walmarts. And basically, they kept $1 for everyone they sold, and the store kept the rest of the money. So every day we were selling 90 pizzas that nobody ever called about. And, they would sell 450 extra pizzas for those 5 days, Monday through Friday. And at the end of the week, I would trade pizza for an Outback Steakhouse gift card and say, okay, you sold all 90 of your pizzas. Every day, here's a gift card for you. Here's a steak for you. And here's another steak dinner for the other driver. And I just built sales. Like, I took a store from 6,000 to 12,000 in a matter of months. And then from there, the whole story evolved. That was my early days in the pizza business.
Well, you mentioned that you learned a lot. Obviously, the process is by working in the corporate part of it. Is there anything that you learned in those early days as doing the deliveries and just that being the bottom of the totem pole that you would definitely do differently as a leader, or you have done differently as a leader because you learned kind of like not to do it from that?
Well, Heidi, I think that's a great question. What I learned a lot was, and that's kind of where the book, The Pizza Equation, came in, because, I always wanted to write a book. And when I felt like, I became successful in the business, I felt like I wanted to write the book. And the way that I wrote The Pizza Equation the part of the equations was a little bit of everything that I learned from every manager that I ever had became my equation, because it's not like I just picked this up and sponged it off of running one store. It was, I learned from, the first manager I ever had, the second manager I ever had, a supervisor I had, in between, I guess, really short in between that Papa John's and the place I was delivering pizzas, I worked at another chain, Fox's Pizza, and I was a general manager there. And I was probably like maybe 20, 21, very young there. And I learned a very big lesson. And what it was the guy who owned it was more of a slumlord. He had 12 apartment buildings and, total slumlord. And he bought pizza business because, what everybody thinks that you can make a pizza for $1 and make $9 off of every one. When you sell them for 10, you're going to get rich, So he bought a pizza shop and kind of a slumlord. And, that was my first general manager job. That's where I got the title. And then what happened is when somebody would show up for the bill, the magazine that he's advertising in or something like that, they would show up and he would say, hey, Nick, go talk to them. And I would go up to talk to them. They'd say they're here for the check for the bill. And then he would hop in his car and drive out of the parking lot. So that's how this guy was, But the lesson, what he taught me was he opened up his books to me. He was the first person that really described to me, this is how much you pay for a dumpster. This is how much a light bill is. This is how much the pepperoni costs. This is how you break down the food costs. This is how you take all the money that everybody gets paid and divide it into your sales and figure out labor costs. Like, there's a lot of valuable lessons. So, I took all those numbers lessons he took me with me the rest of my career. And then something as simple in the restaurant business, you would think that how to clean a restaurant is very simple, right? Like, you would think, oh, everybody knows how to clean a restaurant. But we've all been to dirty restaurants, right? Like we have. And I think one of the ways you clean, I had a manager who said, you clean from the top top down. You start at the very top and you work your way down to start with the shelves, and you wipe the tables off, especially important with all the flour and everything in a pizza shop. But you wipe the tables off and the hinges and the doors and the handles, and then you start the floor, and so different things that I took with me from all the different managers to be successful. But I think what I fell in love with was, being a sports guy, there was definitely a team atmosphere. So, pizza, people love pizza, whether you're celebrating a graduation or a communion or a birthday party or a shower, people love pizza. So they're so excited to see the pizza guy. And I love that. And then when they call up an order, the phone taker takes the order. They hand it off to the pizza maker who stretches the dough, and he hands it off to the guy who puts the sauce and cheese on it. Then they put it in the oven, and then the oven taker cuts it, and he gives it to the delivery driver for to finish the distance out and take it the rest of the mile. And I just love that, team atmosphere, the way everybody shared in their experience.
Kind of like being a NASCAR pit crew.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. Yeah.
So what would you say was your biggest learning experience or aha from going from being a general manager to being an owner?
Well, that's a great question too. I think there was a lot of different things. I always was successful in raising the sales. I was also could read a P&L, so I understood how to read a P&L, and I think that was a big difference. I think one of the things that was a big change for me was when you're a manager and it's someone else's business, and it's really easy to get people to like you. Even as an owner, sure it is, but there's a little bit of difference. I guess the point I'm getting to is when you're a manager and you build a team, if something isn't right in the business, they can blame the owner, the other team members, whether it's, they added an extra hour at night. You used to be open till 10. Now the owner says, we want to be open till 11. It's, the owner must be greedy. He wants to be open till 11, or whatever it is. The manager, you can still be like, yeah, it wasn't my choice. It was, you could finagle it any way you want, that it was the owner. But then I guess when I became the owner, I really didn't have that issue, to be honest. Like the first store, I still was the owner. I still was there. I was making all the decisions. I had a great team of 15, 20 people that really bought into me. When we got to the second store, I still was able to keep that same type relationship going, that I knew the 30 or 40 people by name and knew a lot about them that worked for me. But when we got to the third store, it became tough to know everybody, and for people to realize that how the owner is moving things in different directions, and to keep everybody on the same page, and if at that point, if I decided, well, boy, I've been doing this basically 17 years and never drove a car in the century, and I finally go out and buy a new car, it's like, oh, well, the owner can't give us all a quarter more raise, but he's driving a new car. So I guess the biggest change for me being a manager to the owner was how to manage the perception of being an owner, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Another question for you. What was your biggest lesson you learned in writing the book?
Well, the book was awesome because it took me back to the beginning, and I wrote, and it kind of made me remember stuff, and a little bit of kind of what we were talking about before with the perception of being an owner. I think early on, maybe, we're 8 years in business now. I would say like year 3, 4, and 5, I really struggled with realizing that I earned the success that I had achieved. And I think writing the book and going back and remembering all the 80 and 90 and 100-hour work weeks and crazy marketing things that I did, and all the things that I missed family-wise to work all those hours and stuff like that, made me realize that, sometimes people look at Caliente and think it's an overnight success, but it wasn't. It was a journey, a very long journey, a lot of sacrifice. And I think writing the book made me realize that I earned it. And it made me look back at everything and reflect on it. It was a deep reflection, and it was needed because I really struggled with feeling like that I earned it, that it was that I was worthy of it, I guess. But after writing the book, I was like, man, like thinking about all these crazy things I did marketing wise, or all these hours I put in, or, I was working 5 different jobs 90 to 100 hours a week before Caliente for, I don't know how long, 4 or 5 years. And I mean, a lot of different things. And when I was writing the book, I said, yeah, that all makes sense. I definitely earned it. And I treated myself in my head different after that. I realized that, okay, I can accept being an industry leader now. I can accept the success that I've generated. And I think, that's where I was able to just kind of almost take on not a new persona, so to speak, but a new attitude towards the business and towards the way I look at myself, and really made me have a lot of self-awareness.
You mentioned traveling around to, it sounds like maybe pizza competitions or pizza shows. So have you created your own signature pizza that nobody can get anywhere else?
We have. So what happened is when we opened the business up, I've always been a procedures guy, and I worked for big chains, Domino's, Papa John's, and working for them. The thing is, a lot of times their vegetables might show up in Ziploc bags. It's not like you're coming up with recipes there. The sauce comes out of a can. So a lot of it is how do we come up with these recipes? That's really not what I was. I'm an operations, numbers, marketer. So really what happened was I decided, hey, in the beginning, let's do everything by taste. I knew what a good pizza tasted like. There was no doubt about it. So we brought the family together. They're so proud of us. And we tasted the different sauces and figured out one that everybody liked. We tasted all the different doughs, and I messed around with it a few times, so I got the dough recipe right. And I had a really good friend that was a white tablecloth dining chef, and I would say, this is my recipe for the dough. And he would say, well, that's great. He also had a baking background. And he would tell me it needs to go into the mixer in this order. And, and I would walk different things through them and run different ideas by him. And, the success that we had really happened early with a lot of different marketing stuff and a lot of different, the food was definitely right from the beginning. And there's an International Pizza Expo in Las Vegas. They have it every year for the last probably 30 or 40 years. I've always wanted to go, but never went. We opened in 2012, 2015, 2014. I finally went. I took a couple managers with me. I was like a little kid in a candy shop. I mean, it was wonderful. 9 football fields full of pizza stuff, just to give you an idea.
Heaven.
And, and the trade shows are so important in any industry. I didn't realize that. I'm a big component of going to the trade shows now, but it was my first one. And when I went there, one of the things I saw was these pizza competitions. Very culinary focused, not just, pepperoni sauce pizza, but very, very culinary focused. And I said to myself, man, I can't see myself winning something like that because that's not my strengths, but I know who could. My friend, my chef that had helped me with these recipes, I said, I got to get him to come work for me. At the same time, I just read The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster that Darren Hardy wrote. And one of it was a chapter in there, a line in there that stuck out to me was about paying an employee, somebody who can afford top talent, and paying them, and that eventually that they'll pay for themselves. That you can't afford not to hire the A-type talent. So I went ahead and I came back and I brought Eric over and his family. My chef, Eric's my buddy was the chef. I brought him over. We had shish kebabs. It wasn't out of the ordinary because I'm the godparent to one of his children. They all came over and I pitched them on joining Caliente. And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, I'm a fine dining tablecloth chef. Like, why the hell would I ever want to make just pizzas? I was like, it's not pizzas. It's, try to explain the culinary side of it, and that I could use them to help with the inventory system and getting all our procedures in place and how we make different pizzas and different standardize everything in the restaurant. And it took a little bit for him to decide to come on, but he did. And then when he came on, that was in probably like March. He put in tell you what type of guy he is. He gave the place he worked at for 7 years a 60-day notice. And he joined me June 1st of 2015. And one of the first things that I told him was I gave him a list of goals, and there was, make an inventory sheet, standardize the restaurant procedures, but it was go to the International Pizza Expo in 2016 and win the championship. And I'm a huge put pen to paper type person. Like, I believe there's power in the pen and goals and everything like that. And, you know, it wasn't out of the ordinary. Fast forward, you know, a year of him learning the pizza business, we went to the competition in 2016, and wouldn't you know it, he won the whole damn thing. He made to answer your question, he made a duck pizza with truffles on it and arugula and roasted tomatoes. And it just was a fantastic quality attack. And we were able to promote that we were world pizza champions. It created a culture inside the stores that I had other guys that wanted to start creating other types of menu items. And there's a competition for the world's largest pizza stretch. One of my guys practiced so hard that in 2017, he won the world's largest pizza stretch out at the Pizza Expo. 2018, Eric won again with a Wagyu beef pizza. He flew it right in from Japan, and it was awesome. Wow. He made it into like the finals. Basically, it's like 60 to 100 people in a competition. You're cooking, and then they pick the 5 to cook in front of the judges, kind of like you'd see on TV where they're watching everybody cook. And Eric, man, he is a showman and a half. His showmanship is like 100%. It's off the scales. And what he did was he waited, let everybody cook, and he waited till he went last. And then he put the Wagyu beef on. He had the pizza cooked, and he put it on a flame, and he had the smoke alarms going off because he had a little bit of oil and dropped the meat in. And there's smoke everywhere. He just sliced that Wagyu beef and put it right on top of the pizza, and he won again. And it was just fantastic. And then the World Pizza Champions team is industry leaders. It's World Pizza Champion guys who won championships making pizzas. They asked me to join. They asked Eric to join, and with them, we've traveled to all over the world. London, Italy a couple times. Like I mentioned, all the other places. And then when we got to Parma, Italy in 2019, Eric made a pizza from all the different things that we picked up along the way. We went from Rome all the way down the bottom of Italy, all the way up to Parma, the northern part. And along the way, he picked up some rapini, he picked up some porchetta. And when we got up there, he made a pizza that was the best pizza by all the Americans in Italy. And that gave us the right to call ourselves Best Pizza in America for 2019. And, what I do really well is I take something like that and I just market the heck out of it. So we were able to, on top of opening stores and everything, we were able to be, 40% up in 2019 by able to go ahead and promote that. We basically have built a business that I opened in 2012 and was doing about $4,000 to $5,000 a week when I bought it, to about $10 million worth of pizza and beer in 8 short years. So it's really been a journey for sure.
That is awesome. And I have to apologize. When I was reading the bio on that Best American Pizza, I said the championships in Panama and Italy. It was Parma, Italy. Sorry about that. Those are amazing stories, and I love just hearing that background and stuff. But I also love hearing you're obviously a go-getter when it comes to marketing. You've got a great creative mind, and the guerrilla marketing background that you've done and stuff. Tell us, what advice would you give, and what have you done, whether it's a down economy or whatever it is, what has helped you through COVID?
Well, I've done a couple different things through COVID. First thing I did personally was I went back to things that I knew that worked for me in the very beginning. I read my favorite book, Think and Grow Rich. I read it again, probably for like the 12th time, but I read it right away in March. I watched The Secret for probably the 100th time back in March. I started to just make sure that I was taking care of myself. I always believe if you take care of yourself, then you can take care of others. So I was making sure that I was really getting in my own mind and calm and relaxed, and making sure I was meditating and doing everything that I know that puts me in the right mind frame to lead. And the next thing that I did that was really big was the communication. I really believe if you're leading a team, you have to be communicating. And when I was talking a little bit ago about the persona of like the owner, I think there's certain things you can do to flip the script on that. And one of the things is communication and meetings. So to flip that script of the persona way back when is what I did was every Monday would be a general manager meeting on the phone at 8 p.m. It's non-negotiable. It happens no matter what. And we go over all the numbers. The first Tuesday of every month is an all managers meeting with about 32 managers. The third Tuesday of every month is all the upper managers and myself have a meeting. And they're non-negotiable. They're in stone on when we have these meetings. And I think a lot of times companies will have meetings like, hey, they have meetings when they need meetings, or they have meetings when it's too late to have meetings. So that's a lot of what happens, like, well, we need to have this meeting happen and it's a disaster. Let's have a meeting. We have them no matter what, so we can circumvent anything that's going to happen. So when COVID happened, we called emergency meetings. Sunday night, we were in Pittsburgh. It was like Sunday night at 8 o'clock. The mayor said something. 9 o'clock, the representative said something. 10 o'clock, the governor shut everything down. 10:30, we're on a phone call with 35 managers talking about, okay, here's what we're going to do. This is what, this is how we're going to plan everything. We also are real big into like the What's Up apps. So we have all the whole entire company, all 200 people right here. I can touch them anytime with a message like, hey, this is what's going on. I text them out this is when we're open, we're going to reevaluate everything here as far as like the issues and what's going on. And there was so much misinformation with COVID. So we were I was reading that and reading the governor's Twitter and then putting everything forward, but it was all about communication. So it was making sure I was right, mentally prepared to lead. Then the next part was making sure the communication was there. And then the next part was, getting back to the basics, what got us here in the first place and making sure we do all the little things right. But we also, in between there, talk about the marketing part of it. One of the great things is you don't have to come up with everything yourself. You just have to sometimes do things better than other people. So what I would do is I'd go on Facebook during COVID and I would look at all my friends across the country that have pizza shops, and I would see all these great ideas they were doing, pizza kits and curbside delivery. And I would take those ideas and just send them right over to my marketing team and right over to my graphic designer, and was like, curbside pickup starts tomorrow, making this flyer, and then send it out to my team. Here's what we're doing with curbside pickup. And hey, we're going to do pizza kits. Here is it. Let's do a video and start rolling this right away. And so we come up with all these ideas to make sure that we weren't going to die, because I think that was everybody's worry at the very beginning of COVID are all the businesses going to go to zero? That's what I think. That first 2 weeks, everybody was scared that they were going to lose everything they ever worked for, right? Like that was the fear in the very beginning. It was all going to go to zero. So first 2 weeks was just back to the grind, making sure we didn't lose anything. And then after that, it was, all right, let's get back to the basics, back to the gym, everything that made us who we are today. Let's work on all those little things to make sure we can sustain this I didn't believe COVID's only going to be a couple months. I believe we could be in this for a year or 2 years. What can we do to make sure at the end we're strong and standing on top? So going back to basics, back to the gym, as I've been preaching for the last couple months, that's kind of what we've been doing.
Now, a big part of your business, you said, is craft beer. Are you allowed to deliver beer and people pick it up to go?
We are. You have to have a special license for it. We've had the special license for about 5 years. So delivery beer has been pretty well for us. We're doing all pickup and delivery. Every state's a little bit different. Pennsylvania is one of the weird ones where we have state stores. So they own all the liquor stores. You can't go to a gas station and buy a bottle of booze. You can't go to, anywhere and buy a bottle of booze. You got to go to a store run by the state. So they shut all those down, and you would think they would have let the bars sell booze to go, but they didn't till probably about 4 months into this, probably like June or July, they started letting the bars sell to go cocktails. And then, so one thing we did during COVID was, the slushies are so big. If, you see them everywhere, the alcoholic slushies. So we bought slushie machines for each store, which is a pretty big investment. They were like $1,400 a piece. So, bought $7,000 worth of slushie machines in the middle of COVID, but we've been selling a ton of slushies to go. We've been promoting them like crazy. Summer the slushy, yada, yada, yada. Just trying to push something different to push for the summer, but it worked out well. So that's kind of where we've been with the alcohol. But yes, you can deliver the slushies. You can deliver growlers to go. We sold a ton of growlers, 64 ounces of beer. We sold 2 years supply and 4 months worth of growlers and beer. So
Very cool. All right. Well, I really liked what you touched on there. And I think this can go to any entrepreneur when they see tough times in their economy, in their company, whatever it is, but prepare to lead, communication, and back to the basics and getting the little things right. So I appreciate you touching on those things. But we could stay here all day and talk to you. You've got some great stories and great background. But what I'm hoping you can do now is share with everyone where they can find you, where they can get your book, where they can find your podcast, and any of those things that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the easiest way is nickbogacz.com, and Bogacz is B-O-G, and then animal cat zebra, ACZ.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The podcast is The Business Equation. I put out a new podcast every single Monday. You can find me everywhere that podcasts are. And the book, The Pizza Equation, is on Amazon. And, I really appreciate the time you gave me, Heidi and Jeff. Thanks so much for having me today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm trying to figure out how to get one of your pizzas delivered here to Arizona.
Oh, yours is still in the oven.
That's what I thought. I thought a world champion pizza probably isn't frozen, so getting it out here is going to be tough.
Well, you're making me hungry, that's for sure.
So let me ask you this. If you guys are in Arizona, have you had Chris Bianco's pizza before?
Mm-mm.
No.
You got to Google it, and that's the one you got to go get out there.
Chris Bianca.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll look for that.
All right. I got that written down.
Appreciate the plug.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you and really appreciate it, and can't wait to hear the feedback on this because I know it's going to be great. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.